Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back once again. Today I'm going to be talking about something that I've seen in the comments a bunch lately, which I realized I haven't shared or talked about in probably 2 or 3 years, and that is the story behind my arm. So as you can see, my arm looks a little bit different. A bunch of people are like, he's skinny, he needs to work out, but for a lot of y'all just don't understand. You don't know what happened. So I'm going to tell you all the story. This is the story of the day that changed my life at the moment, and really was the day that I legitimately almost died. You always see clickbait out in YouTube of people saying, I almost died, but like, no, legitimately, like I almost died. So here's the story. So it was the summer before I was going off to college, all right? And I was 19. I was always old for my class. I believe I was 19. I was either 18 or 19. I think I was already 18 is what it was. And so I was going to college. I was a baseball player. I played baseball in high school. I was a pitcher. I loved pitching. I was going to walk on at the university that I went to and try and pitch and play and get better. And I was really excited about that. And one of my buddies that I hadn't seen in a really long time called me up and was like, hey man, we're going out to this rope swing out on the river, and I wanted to see if you wanted to come with me. And I was like, yeah, of course. Like, I've always been the type of person who was pretty adventurous. I'd go to quarries and jump off into the water and stuff like that, obviously making sure that things were safe. And so I was like, yeah, I'll go on a rope swing. This will be cool. So we go out, and the rope swing is on the river, like I said, which is awesome because you get to swing out into the water. It's deep, it's good, and it's a lot of fun. And so this is my first time going to it, and when I got to it, I'll kind of lay out the situation for you, okay? So the best types of rope swings are the ones where you can get way back and swing and you can go really far, right? Now the only thing is, if you don't have arms that are 20 feet long, you can't reach out to the rope that's hanging out in front of you. So there was a ski rope tied up in the tree, like a ski handle, so it came down and had a little triangle thing on it you could grab on. But in order for the rope to get to you, there was an extra rope tied on the middle of the handle that went straight down so that your friends down below you could grab it, pull you the rope, you could grab the handle, and then throw the other rope behind you. So this was my first time doing it. I threw the rope behind me, and I was like, I felt pretty uneasy, if I'm honest. But that was me just not listening to the Holy Spirit, trying to be like, you probably don't want to do this. And so I threw it behind my back and went off into the air, and in the air I turned around facing where I had come from, and slowly I saw that extra rope come up around my arm, and I was like, this isn't gonna be good. And right when I hit the water, it just went and it just tightened and kind of blacked out for a second. My arm was up in the thing. It was right when I hit the water, so it's pretty crazy. Like, if it had tightened any sooner, I probably would have like dislocated my shoulder or something like that. And if it had tightened any later, it probably wouldn't have been that bad because the water would have slowed me down. But it hit at literally the worst possible time. So it tightens, and my arm immediately stops working. I can't use my arm. I can't swim. I'm yelling for my friends to come out and get me. I'm just kind of pedaling like this, and literally my left arm is not working. I'm trying to communicate to it with my brain. Nothing's happening. So my friends come out and get me. We get out, and we call my mom, and we say, something bad has happened. You got to meet us at the emergency room. And it was probably like a mile hike back into the woods, maybe half a mile. And I just kept blacking out. I couldn't walk because of the trauma that I had just gone through. So I like piggybacked ride someone, and my arm was just hanging. It was super swollen and red, and there was a really, really bad rope burn on it. It didn't puncture the skin or cut the skin or anything, but there was a really bad rope burn on it. So we end up getting in the car, making our way to the hospital, and by that time, all the adrenaline has worn off, and I start freaking out, like the most pain that I've ever felt. And I'm like, something is severely, severely wrong. And they go and they do an x-ray, and they're like, no bones are broken, you probably just have a rope burn. I'm sorry, I've never heard of a rope burn that makes your arm completely stop working. You guys need to look at this again. No, you'll be fine in 3 days, just go home and rest. And honestly, that is like so unprofessional and just mind-blowing to me that they let me go home. So But God had a plan in it all along, so I'm very grateful for everything as we continue talking about this. So I go home and I'm taking like crazy painkillers, and it's not getting better. I still can't use my arm. I can't feel my hand. I can't feel anything over here. So we go and we're like, all right, we gotta see what's happening. So we go get an MRI, and this is when we find out the news. So on your arm, you have the bicep and the brachialis and the tricep. So when I went and got my MRI, they found out that the bicep and the tricep were 100% severed. So my bicep that is normally like this is now like this. No longer connected, no longer working. The muscle was dying. It was unconnected. That's why it looks like this. And the tricep was the same. The tricep was cut completely in half. It wasn't connected. It was dying. And then the brachialis, which protects the artery that is right there in your arm, was 75% of the way severed. So if the rope had been any tighter, I would have bled to death. But thankfully, the rope stopped at 75% of the brachialis. It didn't cut that artery. If it had, I would have bled out. I would not be sitting here in front of you. I would have bled internally, and I would have died. But God clearly had a bigger plan in all of this for me to be able to sit here and tell you this story instead of me dying there in that river. And so we go to the doctor, we find that out, and it's like, okay, what do we do? And there was a doctor at my church, and he was a unbelievable doctor. He's done surgeries on people like Shaquille O'Neal and so many other athletes. I don't know their names, but so many other people. Like, he was a very, very good doctor who was booked out months and months in advance. He was like, I'm going to get you in. I'm like, this is important. We need to get you in and fix this. And so I went to the hospital, and they did the surgery and everything, but before that, guys, they did tests on my arm to see if I had any nerves still alive in it, if my arm was ever going to work again. Like, not whether or not they could sew my muscles together, but whether or not my arm was ever going to work again. Because I couldn't move my hand. It was just sitting like this. I would stare at it and be like, and it wouldn't do anything. Nothing would move. My fingers wouldn't move. So I go, I get the surgery, and then I get a big cast on, and I head off to college. No baseball in sight for me. No games. Nothing that I had like relied on. Like, my identity pretty much was in like being an athlete, being a baseball player. And I was, if I'm honest, I was kind of like full of myself. I thought I was cool. And so that kind of just shut all that down. The Lord was like, I'm going to put you in a different place mentally. So that gets shot down. I go to school, and I come back and get it removed, get the cast removed, and I just start crying because my arm is literally the size of my wrist. When like I had always been somebody that worked out, always lifted weights, played football, basketball, baseball, cross country, everything, and it was all just shot. It was gone. And so I start going to therapy. My arm is stuck at a right angle because of the trauma that happens. So I have to go to therapy where they pull on it and stretch it out. And I did that for a year at college, where they just pulled it, stretched it out, would massage on the elbow. My hand didn't work for 6 months. And it slowly started coming back. Certain fingers started coming back. And it would slowly get there. And it was just, it was crazy. It's an absolutely insane thing. But for me, it's like so clear that God was in it, because like the doctor was like, there are two options, Michael. Two options. You either should have bled to death, or you shouldn't be able to use this arm. Well, what am I doing right now? I'm using this arm. I can lift weights. I rock climb all the time. It's hard, and my arm gets tired because of the trauma that happened to it, even though that was 12 years ago now. It's still very weak, and it's never going to be the same. But at least I have an arm. And incredibly, it works, and I can use it, and I can hold up all my fingers and control them all when I was so terrified looking at it, thinking, this isn't ever going to work. I'm never going to be the same. I wasn't a left-handed pitcher. I was a right-handed pitcher, but just the trauma, not being able to use my glove, not being able to do anything, just completely shut down those dreams. Then I started playing video games. So there we go. If that hadn't happened, I wouldn't be sitting here right now talking to you guys, making YouTube videos for a living and enjoying my life. I wouldn't be where I was in any sense. And so it's just so clear to me that the Lord had a plan in that of like, this is going to suck and it's going to be really, really hard for you, but I promise you, you'll be grateful for it. And I most definitely am. Which is kind of weird to say looking at my arm, but I just wanted to tell you guys that story and explain it so that A, you can stop wondering why my arm is so skinny, and B, so that you can stop saying, hey, you need to lift weights. Like, okay. I hear you. I've worked out with it. I can lift weights with it. It's very difficult, and it will never be the same. Like, my right arm is so much stronger than my left arm is. Even when I'm rock climbing, I have to rely on my right arm more than I can on my left arm, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. So there it is. That is what happened to my arm. I had a rope swing wrap around it, and I almost died. I almost bled out internally, but God had a bigger plan for me, and that plan is beginning with YouTube, and who knows where it's going to go from here. I love you guys. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you enjoyed, leave a like down below. Also, if you want to see more story type of videos, those are always fun for me. I enjoy talking to the camera. It's a blast. But yeah, see you guys in the next one. Peace out.